So in looking through some of my videos, I had realized that I never got around to doing a complete test of the Thermax AF1. And this isn't the same AF1 I used to have, but, you know, it's still an AF1. And I think this is the only one I've had that had this little deflector at the bottom of here. I always kind of wondered what these holes down here were for, and now we actually have an answer on that. You know, part of them are to support this, and part of them are to clip into here. So, I mean, that was kind of neat to see. I suppose, you know, the other ones just broke off. But the Thermax AF1 is a water filtration machine. But it doesn't work like a lot of other water filtration machines because it's a non-separator design. So, I just refer to all non-separator designs as a baffle system. So, you can see those two holes at the bottom here, and then the lid goes on top of here. So, this tube here is what forces all the air down under the water. And as the air mixes with the water, it shoots upward and then comes out at the top of this spout here, which I'll take this off so you can see that better. So there's a seal, well, maybe not a seal, but there's kind of a lip that sits around here, so the water isn't coming out of here, but the air and water mixture is expelled through here at the opposite side from the intake. And then we also have a little float valve in here for when you're using it for wet pickup. But when you're using it for wet pickup, you would take this tube out so that the water just launches straight down into there, because that turbulence created by the water filtration system would not help you when you're doing wet pickup, and it would actually decrease your capacity. And then the only filter in some of them is a foam filter. They do make an electrostatic type filter that you can put into here, but I don't have those and I'm not going to buy one of those. So that goes in there, and this fits in a certain way. It's like when you have it in place, it'll drop down. So like, and then we just put the lid on there. This is one of those machines I like to refer to as a coffee table, because it's enormous. And it is like pulling around a coffee table. And I totally forgot I'm missing the cover for this. This is the clean water tank for when you're using it as a shampooer. So it has a built-in pump here, and that's part of why it's so large. The AF2 is quite a bit smaller because it actually uses an external water tank. And then we have the hookup for the solution line down here. But because of this unit size, it actually has like an enormous hose to it. I think it's about 10 feet. And then this piece here is to hold the hose in place. So like as you're pulling it around, it'll pull on this piece rather than on the lid, or at least take some of the pressure off the lid. Anyways, let's get on to it. Ambient voltage. And just so you guys can see this action, well, sort of anyways. And now we've set it up with the power nozzle, so we'll do a retest. You know, in truth, I'm not exactly sure how these lids are supposed to fit on here. I used to think, you know, they had to go past this little piece here, but I don't think that's quite right. So I'm just gonna turn it, oops, because there's a flat spot for it to drop down, and I think you just go like that. It's funny, I've had like, what, 3 of these and I still don't know. Alright, so we'll take the measurement of the body. unrelated, but this amuses me very slightly because I'm so mature. But as this unit winds down, especially when it doesn't have a hose, it makes a noise that reminds me of a toilet. And I was a little bit concerned that my living room wasn't going to be long enough for this. And I think I might still find myself pushed out a little bit into the kitchen once I have the wands and possibly the power nozzle attached. So this is the old style wand system where we have a straight stub, a curved wand, and then we have a straight wand on the end. I actually hate this wand system because it's too short. So the new style one has the curved metal piece at the top, and then I believe it has a telescopic wand. That setup is much better. So, I just took the nozzle tests on here, and I thought we should just have a quick look at this and end a discussion about it. So, part of the reason why we're getting such poor suction numbers out of this thing is it's held together by like some clips at the front and 2 clips at the back. There is 1 screw here, and there's really no sealing between any parts of the housing. And it's quite similar to like a Hoover Powermatic or like Spectrum or something like that. It's quite similar to that power nozzle, but it's not exactly the same. And I'm sure you can see this brush roll is a little bit different from what we're used to seeing on there. Although I think the brush rolls are cross-compatible, but I have learned firsthand that some of the parts, like this neck for example, are not. The Hoover neck is different from the Thermax neck. Not only in its attachment fitting, of course, but I mean it's actually different on the inside of here. The Hoover has this like little stub that extends out and actually meets with a part of the housing, as to where this doesn't have it. And I think they might even be a slightly different diameter. Like just the swivel piece down here at the bottom, I think that might be a different diameter. Yeah, this is definitely one of those canisters you just want to leave in one central location and clean around it rather than continuously dragging it behind you, because like I said, it's like dragging a big old coffee table around behind you. And the worst part is, you know, it's like of the water filtration machines out there, this isn't even the biggest of them. I believe there were some that may have been even larger. Because there were some knockoffs of the Thermax, like the, what was it? I think it was the Singer System 3, there was the Oasis, and there was Probably a few more that I just am not thinking of at the moment. And it's like, you know, these are definitely an interesting machine. You know, it's kind of unlike anything else I have. Let's just see. Yeah, we got a little bit of water on here. A little bit of water. And I know the motor in here is an acoustic bypass. Just for those unfamiliar, this is what the acoustic bypass motors look like. They are supposed to be quieter, because your typical peripheral bypass has little cutouts in the metal here coming right off the fan. And I suppose, you know, by kind of making the air go through a longer path with a softer material, this plastic here, it's supposed to kind of absorb some of the sound from it. And this, I'm pretty sure it's not the same motor that's in this. This is just the motor I'm going to use for that Sandia spotter, but I have to wait for a new plate to arrive to mate with that. That's just an example of what the motor looks like in this thing. And I know it's not super powerful, because I think it's only rated for about 95 CFM. Something like that. Not a super powerful motor, but you know, when you're dealing with water machines, especially baffle style machines, I think there's kind of a balancing act, because if you have too much airflow, I believe that's going to cause the water to come out a little bit more violently, and you're going to end up with more of it getting through your system and possibly into your motor. So yeah, there we go. Our complete test is finally done after probably a few years.